Congressman Anthony Brindisi is on the line right now. Good morning, Congressman.
Good morning, Bill. How are you?
Wonderful. And you had a big day yesterday, a bill actually passing in the House of Representatives.
Yes, bipartisan bill, actually. Something we need to see a lot more of, but this is an issue that's very important. Veteran suicide. We're seeing 20 veterans take their lives every day in this country. Many of those don't come forward to seek services from the VA, and this bill will hopefully get more resources into the VA to have those suicide prevention coordinators go out into the community to find veterans who may not seek services and hopefully save some lives.
How well? What are your thoughts on how well this will proceed into the Senate?
I think it has a good chance because one thing about the Veterans Affairs Committee that I serve on, it's a very bipartisan committee. Every bill, there was a series of bills that passed yesterday dealing with veteran suicide. Many of them, like the one I sponsor, have Senate sponsors as well. And I know that if the Senate ever starts deciding to take up legislation, this should be a part of the package that they should look at. And this is something that I know if it gets to the president's desk, he'll sign
it. Which would be a pretty big step. And it shows that there are things that can be accomplished out there, bipartisan things that can be accomplished in this very divided time that we're in the middle of.
Yeah, I mean, all the legislation that I've introduced that I'm working on is bipartisan. I have another bill that deals with sanctions on companies in China that work with drug traffickers to import fentanyl into our country, which is leading to a lot of deaths related to the opioid crisis. Another bipartisan bill that I have in the House. It has Senate sponsors, and it's something, again, I know if we can get passed through both houses, the president will sign it. And that's what I'm really looking for right now is what are those areas that we can work together? There's a lot of noise on television, a lot of bickering on television, and if you watch the 24-hour news, you think nothing's happening. But the fact is that there are things that are happening. There are folks on both sides of the aisle in the middle who are trying to get things done, and that's what I'm here trying to do.
One of those things, I'm assuming, is the infrastructure plan. I know that Pelosi and Schumer are meeting with President Trump today. Do you have any insight into what's going to be discussed at that meeting, and if you're optimistic about that?
Well, I think right now what they're talking about is really paying for an infrastructure package. They agreed that this is something that has to be done. I agree it has to be done. You look at the conditions of our roads and our bridges and our water and sewer systems, our utility grid. Everything's very old, and this is an area where America used to be a leader in infrastructure. Now we're falling behind countries like China that are not only rebuilding their infrastructure, but they're building infrastructure in other countries. They're expanding their 5G network in other countries, and that's a security threat for us as other countries look to China to help with infrastructure needs and technology. That puts us at a disadvantage here in this country. So we have to be doing more on infrastructure, and I think this is an area where the president has said he wants to get done. I know there's folks on both sides of the aisle here in the House that want to do that, and we should be working. This is an area where we should be working together.
I do have to ask you, before we let you go, Congressman Justin Amash, calling for the impeachment of President Trump. He is a Tea Party Republican who's landing on this issue far to the left, certainly farther to the left than you are. What are your thoughts? And is there increasing pressure for someone like yourself to maybe move closer towards impeachment?
I don't feel the pressure. I can tell you I've been very clear from the beginning that I think if we go down the road of impeachment, it's a big mistake and it's a bad thing for the country right now. The voters are going to have their say in a year from now who they want to be the commander-in-chief for the next 4 years of this country. In the meantime, we've had the investigation. The Mueller report is out. I don't agree with everything the president and his campaign team did. I think they exercised some very poor judgment during the 2016 campaign. I think that the underlying premise of the investigation did a foreign adversary interfere in our elections is true, and we need to be doing a heck of a lot more to prevent that kind of interference from happening again. But right now, the focus, I believe, has to be on how do we get things done for the American people, like infrastructure, We just passed a bunch of bills last week in the House to help lower prescription drug costs. These are bipartisan bills that we can get passed and signed into law because the president has made that a priority as well. How do we focus on the crisis of veteran suicide? These are the things that we need to be working on right now, not going down the path of impeachment. Let's move forward and figure out ways we can work together.
One final observation I'd like to hear from you. Have you observed Congressman Amash? How lonely does he look? He is definitely not a popular guy when it comes to Republicans right now.
I was talking to another House member yesterday. We were actually on the floor, and he was Justin was in the back having a conversation with another Freedom Caucus member, and it didn't look like a very pleasant conversation. I can say that. But look, he's a principled guy, and he's got his beliefs, and you got to respect that.
Yeah.
I may disagree with the necessity to move forward with impeachment, but I respect his opinion. Every member has the right to their own opinion. I just think the time right now is for us to work together with the president to get some things done for this country.
Fair enough. Congressman Anthony Brindisi, thanks so much for taking the time.
All right, thank you.
All right, have a great day.